Hello and welcome to Let's Play All Games, and welcome to another guide video for Motorsport Manager how-to video. And in this video we'll go over how to do qualifying. Now before I begin, this is not going to be a particularly long video because there isn't that much I can offer for qualifying, but there are still a few tips that I think will be useful. I'll be using the same event I used for doing the practice, so this is the same race basically. Now for qualifying, remember most of the work you do for qualifying is done beforehand, so in practice basically. So your aim is to try and get level 3 knowledge on the soft tire, level 3 knowledge on qualifying trim, and try to set up your cars perfectly. So that in itself will help you more than anything else you'll do in qualifying itself. Now when it comes to qualifying, you have a few different things you can try. If it's a normal try session, depending on how long the qualifying session is in the event you are taking part in. For example, in this playthrough, the qualifying sessions are 8 minutes long. So these are the shorter qualifying sessions. You have 8-minute sessions and 12-minute sessions. So earlier on when I started in season 1 and 2, I think it was 12 minutes, then it became 8 minutes, and it has stayed like that. Generally for an 8-minute session you can get 2 attempts. For 12-minute sessions you'll get 3 attempts. Some races where the lap is longer, you will not be able to do that. So for example, in this 8-minute thing, Doha, the first race of the season, is about a 1 minute 52-second lap. So in that race, in that qualifying session, I cannot attempt 2 qualifying runs. So the best strategy there is wait till everybody's out and around halfway go out and do 1 solid attempt. Now before you come to an event, you select the number of tires, so you have to keep that in mind as well. For a 8-minute session you'll need 2 sets for qualifying, 1 set for the practice, and if you plan on using those sets in the race, then you'll need a few more. So bring at least 3 sets of the qualifying tire, the softest tire basically. When it comes to qualifying itself, your job is to find a clear track for your drivers and not to get stuck in traffic. That is pretty much it as far as strategy is concerned. There is another thing I wanted to mention briefly, and that is certain mechanics, they have a sort of bonus option when you select it at the start of a session. It's called a super overtake mode, and it is a level 2. Certain mechanics have that. If you can find a mechanic with that, especially when you're looking for a mechanic, and if he's with your driver long enough, that level 2 super overtake mode gets unlocked. And what that is basically when you select your engine performance, you can select an extra mode, like more than the attack mode, and that burns the fuel quite a lot, but it gives a huge performance increase, and it is especially useful in qualifying. I wouldn't recommend using that during the race itself, but in qualifying that is a huge plus. It is in fact, in my opinion, better than having level 3 tires, because I've tried that. My 2 drivers were fairly similar in performance, and just by having 1 driver on that super overtake mode, I was able to get a significant performance improvement. So even like almost a second faster than the other car with identical setup. So keep that in mind. That is a very useful thing to have. It takes a little while for that to unlock, but when it does, it's very, very useful. Now another thing I wanted to mention briefly is for wet qualifying sessions. Now when you head to a wet qualifying sessions, you have to keep in mind that the tire you are on may not be the right one. For example, in this instance, my 2 drivers are on inter tires. However, if you look at the forecast, this becomes a lot wetter very soon. So this does not represent a lap, it represents time. So this is about 2 minutes. About 5 of these bars will represent 2 minutes. So when my drivers, even if they go out straight away, by the time they are doing their laps, this would be where they would be. So this is not inter, this is more or less full wets. So you have to make sure you get the right tire. Now obviously if I wait a tiny bit more, and if they start their lap around this point, this would be ideal for inters. So you have to be careful as to when you send out the drivers what the track would be once they start doing the lap. Now if you see here, you can barely make it out, but it seems to be drying out here. So we can simply skip this part during the wet period and just go when it's dry. And when it gets dry, you have to try and send your drivers when there's maximum grip on track. And yeah, that is also something that you could use to get ahead of the others, because often what happens is after they've done their laps in the wet session, they tend to sit or they go for the wrong tire again. You could wait a bit and try to send your cars at the last moment, and that way if you can just start the lap with a few seconds remaining, you'll be one of the last people out there with the maximum amount of grip on track, and hopefully without any traffic, and as a result you could simply get a jump on a lot of people. See, as you can see here, these people have already done their attempts and they are sitting in the pit. We send our cars at the last moment and we are about one of only 3 or 4 people on track, so we'll significantly improve here. See, we finished 2 and 3. We finished behind Bergman, but we finished 2 and 3, where in reality we should have finished somewhere like 10 or 12 based on our pace. So if you are a bit clever, because the AI isn't particularly smart, you can really get the jump on a lot of people. So hopefully you found something useful here. Like I said, there isn't that much we can do because most of the work is done before qualifying, and in qualifying your main job is to find the clear track for your drivers and hopefully time it perfectly so you get the maximum grip. You send your guys out when there's maximum grip, and that's it. And be happy with where you finish, and then I'll make a separate video where I'll give some tips for the race itself. But other than that, I think that's it for qualifying. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.